Happy Friday, everyone. I just received this question from my colleague Duffy, who will be presenting Velixo to an Acumatica user that requires some of the custom attributes and UDFs as part of her reports. So in this video, I would like to show you how you can access custom attributes from projects and use that as part of your reports. And for my presentation, I will be using the project report sample pack that we have available on the Velixo website. If you don't know where it is, you can click on the support link in the Acumatica toolbar, or you can just go to help.velixo.com. So let's get started. First, I will open Acumatica and add to the generic inquiry page. So let's open my website. And then actually, before we go to the project, to the generic inquiry, let's open the project screen and look at the different attributes that we have today. So that's under attributes. So we do have 4 attributes: expense markup percentage, so let's do 15%, project burden percentage, margin for cost plus projects, and then the name of my project director. So Duffy is the one asking. I will just write his name here. So it says Duffy Cohen. In order to access that from Velixo, we will need to have a generic inquiry that exposes these attributes. As you will see, it's very easy to create this inquiry. So let's just go to generic inquiry and type the name of a new inquiry. We do not recommend and do not support modifying the built-in inquiries. So even though there is a standard Velixo inquiry for projects, please do not make any changes to it, because it will get upgraded and recreated at some point, let's say with future releases of Velixo. So always create your one. You're free to call it Velixo something if you want. So let's call that Velixo project attributes, and add our PM project table. So PM project contains a list of all the projects in Acumatica. And in the results grid, I will add the columns that we need. First of all, I want my project code. It is called contract CD in the database. This is normal. That's because the project module in Acumatica builds from the Acumatica contract model. But you can still call the column project if you want here. And then let's add the different attributes. Attributes that are created in the attributes tab will always show up in the list of fields, and they all are named the same way. It's the attribute ID _ attributes. If you created a UDF using the user-defined fields functionality or the customization module, the fields will also show up using the name that you selected for these fields. So usually it starts with USR in case of user-defined fields. Okay, so let's give them a caption. So project director, expense markup, cost plus margin, and then burden. Let's click save. And finally, make sure that this inquiry is accessible from Excel. I'll go here and add a new sheet where we will retrieve the contents of this inquiry. So let's do GI, demo, the name of my GI, enter. And now we can see a list of all my projects with all 4 attributes. And you will notice that there's an extra column. By the way, let me explain why. This is absolutely normal. Acumatica includes any column that is a part of the key structure, the key field of the table by default, to make sure that you have unique data. That hasn't always been the case. It is the case since 2020 or so. It's very easy to get rid of these columns if you don't need them. Just list the fields in the GI function. So project burden, cost plus markup, expense markup, and then project director, like that. So it's not cost plus markup, margin. Oh, do I need to type that again? Yeah, I need to type it again. So project burden, cost plus margin expense markup project director. Okay, perfect. So if we scroll down, we can see that we have the information for a few projects. Not everyone has it, but we will be able to access that. So at this point, if you're familiar with Excel, you probably know that you could do XLOOKUP or VLOOKUP to get the data. So I would be able to easily add that here to get a list of projects with some of these attributes. With Velixo, there's actually a simpler way that is also faster. You can use the GI lookup formula. You just find where I put this inquiry. It's right here. And I'll show you how GI lookup works. GI lookup, just type equal GI lookup, the GI name, and then the column that you want. So let's say I want to get the burden of project, and I need a real project that has one, of project RevRec 01. So this is a super fast way to get any value from a GI based on the keys. So the key here is the project ID. Well, actually, I have not set up the keys yet, so I'm getting this error. Key fields are not configured, so we need to do that first. Let's go to options, find my inquiry, so just double click, and I will add, it's actually already there. No, it's not project, it's project attributes, this one. Key fields, project, okay, okay. You just do that once in your spreadsheet, and then as you can see, we have the value. Okay, so let's take that here and then even get rid of the sheet because we don't even need a temp sheet if we're using GI lookup. And let's add a column called burden here. So I will just do equal GI lookup burden, and I'll take the project ID from here and fill that down. Well, as you can see, they're all 0, but let's go to Acumatica and set some of these values here. So let's go to projects, 1002 hotel, attributes, burden, so let's put 5% here, let's put 10% here, put 5% here, and then let's go back to Excel and hit refresh. Perfect, so you can see that we have the burden percentage now listed next to each project. And honestly, GI lookup is super fast. Even if you have 100,000 lines, the lookups would be instant, and I find them a bit easier to understand than by doing like the usual VLOOKUP or XLOOKUP if you are on Excel 365. So a few more things that I would like to show you. First of all, you may have noticed that when I copied this down that it gave me a bunch of NAs. So that's because all the formulas on this sheet have been copied to make room for enough projects. So if you look at this formula here, you'll see that it checks if the project ID is blank first. So I could do that if B16 is not empty, then I call that. If not, I do blank. That's one of the ways to do it. Or if you watch the video that I posted last week, you also know that you can use dynamic array syntax to do that. So let's clear this formula and show you how I would do it using dynamic array syntax. I will clear all the column here. And then instead of, well, actually, I'm not sure that we support dynamic arrays yet with GI lookup. Yes, so I'm sorry. So what I showed you last week at this point works with the financial functions if you're in the insider build. GI lookup is still not supported, but I will make sure to circle back with the dev team and add that ASAP because that would be a very useful scenario here. So then let's revert back to what I had. We check if the cell is not blank and we call GI lookup. So this way, if you have more or less project in this inquiry, let's say I select another project manager, that the formula will not give you any errors. Okay, so we have the formula here that retrieves the burden. So at this point we could add additional columns if we need to. We could even make this simpler by using the new lambda functionality in Excel. So instead of typing GI lookup, I could change that to equal project burden and then simply select the project ID. I'll be doing a video that shows you how to do that in the coming weeks. So stay tuned for that. And then maybe one more thing that would be useful is selecting a list of projects based on an attribute. So for that, let me go back to our earlier example where we were using GI, okay? Because this will help you understand how we do that. So Velixo project attributes here, perfect. Okay, so we do have the project manager on a few, project director, I'm sorry, on a few lines, but they're all different. So let's make sure that we have at least 2 projects with Steve. Steve Orlean here. And then, yeah, maybe this one here could be Duffy as well. Duffy Cohen. Okay, so this one is missing some required fields, and I cannot find where. Okay, let's pick another project then. 1002 Hotel. Let's put Duffy here. Okay, so now we should have a few projects that are linked to Duffy and 2 projects that are linked with Steve and a few others. So let's say you want to get the list of projects because you want to calculate all the expenses or all the revenue for projects matching one attribute. So let's say project director here, and I want to see the project list. So if I type Duffy Cohen here, I would like to see all the projects linked to Duffy. So we do have 1003 restaurant and tile project. So 1003 rest and then tile PRG. So this is what I'm looking to get out of this function. Once we have that, it would then be possible to do project turnover amount and then just specify these projects. Velixo lets you list multiple projects and we would have the balance for all the projects managed by Duffy. So here's how we are going to do that. I am going to use the filter formula of Excel to filter this array here. So I want to filter the entire table. So filter A1 pound. And I want to include where the first column equals this value. So that should give us the full table. Oh, it gives me an error. Wow. Okay, filter array equal K6. X. Actually, let me pause recording. I need to look this up. I did it last week with another client, but I forgot and I don't want this to last too long. Okay, I'm back. My formula was all wrong. So let's do it again. So I need to filter. So I want to filter the list of projects. So this is in column A or column 1. And I want to include projects where the project director, so column 5 of this table, equals the value that I have here, Duffy Cohen. Here we go. So that gives us a list of projects in the form of an array. So now I need to convert this into a list that is separated with a semicolon. It's very simple. I just need to do text join. And that. And here we go. So that's our dynamic list. So let's try it. Instead of Duffy, I will type Steve. and that will give us a list of projects managed by Steve. Okay, so once you have that, you would be able to use this for calculations. Just like in the project portfolio, we sum up the budget and revenue and expenses by salesperson or project manager. You could do the same thing to get a list of projects based on the project director, based on the region, based on a program manager, and this would let you make these calculations very easily. Before I finish, I want to point you to a video that we did on our YouTube channel. So Velixo Program Management, or Acumatica Program Management. Yeah, Program and Portfolio Management with Acumatica. So in this video, I actually create a custom fields from scratch, and then I show you how we can then report on that. So kind of a similar topic to what I just described today, but a bit more complex because we introduce the program level in Acumatica and link multiple projects together. But again, the idea is still the same. I hope that you enjoyed this presentation, and if you have any questions, make sure to reach out to us. Just go to help.velixo.com, and there's a chat widget where you can ask questions. It's always a pleasure to talk to you. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.